It was the city at the heart of the battle for Iraq as ISIS jihadist fighters swept across the country. In June 2014, several hundred militants overran the city of Mosul. They consolidated their positions in surrounding areas in order to take over the city and declared the Islamic State caliphate. Then, just a few days later, the iconic image of the first ever video appearance of IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi giving a sermon at the Great Mosque of Al-Nouri as he demanded allegiance from Muslims across the world. He urged them to emigrate into IS-controlled territory to fight against unbelievers. It was a call followed by tens of thousands of extremists. From Mosul, initially, IS appeared to threaten the Iraqi capital Baghdad, but government forces, Peshmerga fighters and tribesmen supported by a US coalition, including France, fought back.
يا أبناء شعبنا العزيز، يا أبناء محافظة نينوى الأحبة، لقد دقت ساعة الانتصار وابتدأت عمليات تحرير الموصل. أعلن اليوم ابتداء هذه العمليات البطلة لتحريركم من بطش وإرهاب داعش، وإن شاء الله قريبا نلتقي في أرض الموصل لنحتفل جميعا بتحريرها وبخلاصكم.
They entered the outskirts of Mosul at the end of 2016, and there followed a brutal street-to-street battle, eventually pinning IS fighters to just the old city. The Great Mosque of Al-Nouri itself blown up by the Islamic State group. IS claimed it was destroyed in a US air raid. There's no evidence to support that. Mosul, though, eventually liberated in July of 2017. Thousands of civilians had died, and more than 2 years on, much of the city remains in ruins or peppered with bullet holes. Many have opted not to return, people unsure if there's any kind of real plan to bring order, jobs and security. Well, Hussein Assad, Ludovic de Foucault and Shona Bhattacharya revisit Mosul for France 24.
جيل ما أعتقد جيل محب للسلام راح يطلع. يعني شاف داعش وشاف الذبح قدامه وشاف القتل وشاف السلب.
طبعا وفكرنا بعد ما يروحون.
وإذا رجعوا بالمعنى هم يصير كوارث ويصير كل شيء يصير.
Sometimes I wake up with a start in the middle of a nightmare, where Daesh is back. I see friends I've lost. What happened in this city and to its people wasn't easy. The coming generation will never be at peace. They saw Daesh behead and kill people and plunder. This generation will have a hard time finding peace.
The old city of Mosul is a ghost town. Under the ruins, there are still bodies, bombs, and centuries of history destroyed in one of the most brutal bombardments in recent history.
Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the entire world abandoned us, even though Mosul has always been Iraq's intellectual center.
The war caused considerable damage. 2 years after the city was liberated, its infrastructure is still largely out of service. Mosul's centuries-old, rich cultural heritage is badly damaged.
That's the Al-Nouri Mosque. There used to be an outdoor prayer service, and you can still see the dome. This mosque must never be linked to Daesh or al-Baghdadi. It's a Mosul mosque that's 845 years old. The history of Mosul, its heritage, its civilization, this mosque represents it all.
Here stood the great Al-Nouri Mosque, where Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared the creation of the caliphate on July 4th, 2014. Reconstruction efforts are being funded by the United Arab Emirates and carried out by UNESCO, but they're at a standstill. 5 years are needed to rebuild the mosque exactly as it was, including its leaning minaret, an emblem of the city. No matter where he goes, the project coordinator is greeted with the same question.
Please, have a seat. So tell me, when is the reconstruction set to start?
2020.
And the dome, will you redo it?
Yes. We'll do everything to rebuild it the way you remember it.
Filming inside the grounds is forbidden. Instead, we climb to the rooftop of a neighboring house. Until quite recently, it was occupied by jihadists. Here, life stopped in its tracks. There are still traces of combat, traces of death. It took 9 months to liberate the city. 20,000 homes were destroyed, like this one.
It's me, let me in.
In Abu Omar's house, Daesh fighters resisted fire from the Iraqi army as long as they could.
From here, they tried to shoot down planes. A rocket landed here, another here, and another one crashed through the window here. This house is uninhabitable now.
Every day, the streets of the old city are filled with the sounds of public works. The authorities are rebuilding roads, but some neighborhoods are getting more attention than others. Like here, where Abu Abdullah lives. Unlike tens of thousands of others, he chose not to flee the war.
Sometimes I wake up in a panic, and I wonder if Daesh is back. They're still in my head. What we saw, we can never unsee. One of the high-ranking Daesh members lived over there. There was an air raid on the house, and a wall collapsed on us. We rescued my father's body from the rubble. He was dead. We decided to bury him in the garden, and at that moment, a sniper shot my brother in the back. The bullet went through him and hit the person in front of him. 1 bullet, 2 victims.
Without outside help, Abu Abdullah rebuilt his house with the help of his neighbors and family. The first days of the war are still fresh in his mind.
When we could finally leave the house again, the soldiers accused me and my neighbor of being terrorists because we hadn't fled. We told them we just stayed hidden, that we didn't want to go out because of Daesh. They accused us of lying, and they hit us.
Hello, ma'am, your papers, please.
In early summer 2014, Mosul fell into the hands of the Islamic State group with stunning speed that left a cloud of suspicion over the city's residents that has yet to disappear.
Those that come in or out, if we know them, we let them through. But if we don't, we carry out a thorough search.
At the edge of the desert, Hamdoun was the first village taken by the jihadists on their march to Mosul. A village elder offers to be our guide.
That's the governor's house. Do you want to go inside?
This home belonged to the man who was appointed as the Islamic State group's governor in Mosul.
I swear, we're afraid.
Families whose members had joined Daesh are still living in this village.
If they come back, it'll be a disaster. People here were terrified. It was like they were paralyzed.
Beyond Hamdoun lies the desert, where operations against sleeper cells continue. Leading the fight is the Hashd al-Shabi, a Shiite brigade that has gained considerable influence since the liberation of Mosul. One of their commanders met us in a base in central Mosul.
These are photos of our martyrs. Only some of them, because there are many of them. It's thanks to them that Iraqi soil was liberated.
This paramilitary coalition is armed, financed, and advised by Iran. It has now been integrated into the regular Iraqi armed forces, but in practice is still fighting on its own. This man sees himself and his group as saviors.
Without Hashd al-Shabi, there would no longer be a state in Iraq. There would be no politicians. Where were they when the city fell? Not here in any case. Why do some want the Hashd al-Shabi to leave Mosul? It would mean going back to 2014.
Back to Daesh, you mean?
Yes, of course.
So if you leave the city, you think Daesh will return?
Yes, of course.
Mosul, the largest Sunni city in Iraq, is now boxed in by Shiite forces that proudly fly their colors. And to make sure the city doesn't fall a second time, the authorities in Baghdad have gone a step further. The prayer service in this mosque is the same at every mosque in the city, as is the sermon. Written by Sunni religious authorities, but approved by the government in Baghdad.
They damaged Islam's image. They decapitated people in the name of Islam. This kind of extremism is the exact opposite of Islam.
The intention is to stop the faithful from heeding the call of extremists.
Our work as imams, as preachers, is to show people the true religion. It's a fight that's being carried out in people's minds, and it's even more important than the one that's being fought on the ground.
And there are other battles being fought in Mosul. The young make up the majority of the population. In this cafe, all the customers are in their 20s. Such scenes were unthinkable under Sharia law, but are now once more part of daily life.
Under Daesh, we could have been killed for playing like this. They said it was the same as gambling. Under Daesh, everything was outlawed. Cards, dominoes, backgammon, shisha. Places like this one. But now, thanks to God, the situation has become normal again.
A group of students has set up a recording studio inside the cafe. Every day, Radio 1 broadcasts talk shows live. It's a way for these young people to claim the spot they want to take as their city is rebuilt.
We're trying to give the world a more positive view of Mosul. And at the same time, we're trying to resolve the problems and bring solutions when we can. Having this cafe allows us to finance ourselves. This way, no one owns us, especially not political parties who would want us to adopt their opinions.
3, 2, 1, Q. Welcome if you're just joining us on Radio 1 FM.
Today's program is on the subject of arranged marriages.
We have a lot of people who follow us, who listen to us. We like our program and the topics we cover, that are sensitive at times, like the relations between different communities and the problems that arise. We are trying to find solutions to these social issues through discussion.
There are things that are being developed by the youth. We're the only ones who can do it, who can rebuild.
Rebuilding, reconstructing, starting over again, repeating the same gestures to slowly get back on their own 2 feet. Good intentions are everywhere in Mosul, but the expressions on the faces of some tell another story. The extreme violence of the caliphate, the cruelty of the bombings to liberate the city, the authorities' never-ending suspicion. The people of Mosul are digging deep in search of the roots of hope, buried under the ruins.
Hussein Assad, Ludovic de Foucault and Shona Bhattacharya revisiting Mosul for France 24. That's all from this week's edition. Of course, you can catch it and all our previous editions as well on our website. You'll find that at france24.com. More news coming up very shortly. Thanks for watching.